Hey YouTube, it's Elizabeth, Finding Elizabeth, and this is my week 12 post-op VSG update, like take 57. Hopefully this one will be a keeper. I had, today is July 7th, 2014. I had surgery on April 14th, 2014 with Dr. Michael Belsberg at Kaiser South Bay in Southern California. My starting weight in January 2014, when I started the process, also my heaviest weight was 402 pounds. My weight at surgery was 360.6 pounds. My weight last week was 300.6 pounds. And my weight today was 298.4 pounds. So we hit Twonderland, woohoo! I'd like to have had a higher number than 2.2, but I'm not going to be greedy. I had almost 6 pounds last week. So it is what it is. I haven't stalled yet. I haven't gained yet. So I'm happy with how I'm doing. I'm going in the right direction. That's a total loss of 62.2 pounds since surgery and 103.6 pounds since I started the process in January. Every week I track my average calories, protein, etc., to so I can look back and kind of see what I might do differently in the coming week or what I want to work on. And I like to share those on my video because it's something I'm always interested in hearing what other people are doing. So my averages for last week were, my calories were 829, protein was 78 grams, carbs were 47 grams, fat was 37 grams, fiber was 7 grams, sugar 15 grams, water 56 ounces, and my steps are not quite correct because I forgot to wear my Fitbit one day when I was gone, but they, according to Fitbit, my average steps for the week were 4,120. So the big things for me to really focus on are the water and the steps. I'd also like to get my calories down below 800. They were for the most part, but there were a couple of high days like 4th of July last week. So I want to get those down below 800, and I like to get my carbs down at least for a week to below 30 to just kind of see what that does to the weight loss. Big thing though is exercise. I know last week I did my video and I also said last week that I wasn't going to play with my hair in the video because I was getting a haircut, but I lied. Anyway, last week in my video I said, oh, let's do an exercise challenge. Let's do 30 minutes of exercise every day in July. Yeah, I did that on Monday and that was it. But it's really because nobody commented and said they were going to join the challenge. Kidding. That's just an excuse. What happened was Tuesday came around and I was too tired and I didn't go to the gym in the morning, and that's what happens. But this week, I have been working out with a personal trainer once a week. This week, I'm going to start seeing him twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. And then I think on 3 other days, I'm going to start the Couch to 5K. I've been inspired by so many of you guys who are doing that. And I downloaded the app and it looks reasonable. So I think I'm going to give that a shot starting today. So hopefully I will keep my promise to myself and to all of you YouTubers and do what I said I'm going to do this week in terms of exercise. Okay, quick, I just wanted to talk about a couple of quick, just like updatey things, and then I want to talk a little bit about Twonderland. After probably like 3 weeks after surgery, I started being ravenously hungry and was very jealous of people who, you know, have said that they haven't ever had hunger since they had surgery and are considerably further out than I am. And even the people who, you know, had surgery around the same time I did who aren't having hunger. Well, that's pretty much gone away. And I think that what's caused that to go away, just in case anybody else is having this issue, is drinking more water. I think that I was just bordering on being dehydrated because since I've started getting in more water, I really, I haven't been hungry either. So that is a good thing. I talked about the exercise already, that's my big goal for this week. NSVs, you know, it sort of feels like right now, even though, you know, at 298 pounds, I'm higher, my weight is higher than many people are at when they start this journey. It feels like life is just one big NSV. I mean, everything is so much easier and different. You know, those things like sitting in a booth, Here's one that I noticed this week, which is like bending down to pick things up isn't such a pain in the ass. Before something fell down, I would probably like walk away and wait for somebody else to pick it up unless it was really important. Now it's like, oh look, I can bend, I can pick things up. It doesn't feel incredibly uncomfortable to do that. So I think that's my big NSV for today. Okay, so Twonderland. This is a big deal for me. I think that it's probably been since right after my son was born. I think from the time he was like 1 on and he's 18, he just turned 18, I have been in the 300s. I hit the 200s, I think, on Saturday. And I'm an everyday weigher, and I get on the scale and I see that number and it's like, what the hell? It's almost as shocking as that brief moment when I had the 400 number. Just like, who is that? Who is this person who's now in the 200s? And I've been thinking about it a lot over the weekend. I watched less of Sarah's videos for when she hit Twonderland and was really moved by what she had to say. And if you haven't seen those, I suggest that you go and watch them, particularly if you're someone who's who started this process being super morbidly obese. I wasn't as excited as I thought I would be. I wasn't as excited as I saw her be. I wasn't as excited as I saw some other people be. And I thought, what's that about? And I think that I lived a lot of years in denial about what my weight was actually doing to me and to my son. I mean, one of the things in Sarah's video that made me sort of bawl my eyes out when I watched it was that she said that her youngest son would never know her as super morbidly obese. Gonna get verklempt. So my son, had a super morbidly obese mother his entire life. And there were so many things that I missed out on doing with him. And I was just in like total denial about it. I just pushed it out of my mind because it was too painful. And I was a single mom for most of his life. So there were so many things that he had to do by himself because I couldn't participate. I was talking to him the other day about the idea of going to Disneyland after obesity help, and that I was thinking about doing that. And he said, well, you really hate Disneyland, don't you? And that's what he thinks, because from the moment I could get away with sending him with other people, I did, because I didn't want to face what I couldn't do. I didn't want him to have to go on rides by himself. I remember once when I, one of the, 9 million weight loss efforts that I embarked on, we were in Las Vegas and we were staying at New York, and he wanted to ride the roller coaster, and he did it by himself a couple times. And I remember saying to him, next time we come here, I'm going to be able to do this with you. Well, that was probably at least 7 or 8 years ago. I just hope that even though he's 18, that he'll consider riding a roller coaster with me once, so that we can say we did it at a time that he remembered. But anyway, I think not just with him, but with all aspects of my life, because I've had a successful career, and I've heard so many people say that being overweight held them back from getting jobs. That's never been the case for me. But who knows what I could have gotten if I hadn't been overweight. I don't know, but I'm just starting to let in a little bit the idea of what I've lost. I had always been overweight, but as an adult, before I got pregnant, my weight stayed, around 220, which compared to 402 is, significantly less overweight. And seeing people on YouTube and Biggest Loser and everything, and actually seeing what people's weights are, I look at that and think, wow, those, that person doesn't look that big at all. And I had a really complicated relationship with my ex-husband, my son's dad. He was most definitely the love of my life to this point. We were together off and on for, I don't know, 20 years, maybe. No, maybe not 20, maybe 15 years. But we separated for the first time when my son was 6 weeks old. And I was confronted with the fact of having to be a single mother when that wasn't what I had planned. With having to support us, with what I thought my life was going to be, being very different, and also with being cut off from him and from his family and his kids, who I was very close to. So it was a really challenging time for me, and I was depressed. And that's when I started really putting on the pounds. And, it's another Less of Sarah video. She, in a video this weekend she put out, she talked about using food as a method of self-harm. And I sort of think that that's what I was doing too. And I hadn't realized that until this weekend when I was really thinking about it. I was punishing myself for, what I felt I'd done wrong in terms of that relationship, what I felt I had created in terms of a life for my son. And I was also lonely and depressed, and the only thing that gave me much pleasure was food. So that's where I stayed for a really, 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 really long time. And I think I had 2 breaking points, and I haven't really talked about this yet. But my first breaking point was my son's dad, my ex-husband, died on October 3rd, 2010. We weren't together at the time, hadn't been for a little while, but I knew he was struggling, and I had gone back and forth on how I wanted to get involved, and I didn't. And I got the phone call one morning that let me know that he had died. And at his funeral, it was one of those things where people get up and talk and whatever. And I sat there and I so wanted to talk about him and the person he had been and how much I loved him and the great times that we had had. And I sort of felt like I was one of the few people there who had ever sort of loved him exactly as he was. And that some of both of the best times of our lives were spent together. And I was so ashamed of how I looked that I didn't get up. I didn't get up and say the things that I needed to say at the funeral of the person who I loved so much, because I was ashamed of how I looked. My son, who was 14 at the time and had a very complicated relationship with his dad, got up and spoke. But I couldn't. And I never, that's a moment you can't take back. You can't get that back. And I knew that that was when I needed to do something, because I never wanted to let my weight and my shame stand in the way of loving people and saying that I love them. And so that's when I started Optifast. And I did. I lost, 75 pounds. I kept it off for a year. I still had a long way to go, but slowly but surely it came back on. And I got to a point of real desperation with it and real hopelessness with it. And I had pretty much given up. I was thinking about, what is my life going to be like after my son goes to college? He's been pretty much sole focus of my life for these 18 years. And what am I going to do? I don't have cats, but I'm going to be a crazy cat lady. And somehow I was able to pull myself out of it a little bit. And through this whole process, I was having pretty intense therapy. But I took a class at my church, which is really about kind of like an introduction to different spiritual practices. And through that class, I don't know, I had a couple of aha moments about accepting myself. And I'm going to put, I just watched this presentation I did as the end of class project last night, and I want to put it at the end of this video, which I know is getting kind of long, and I'm going to wrap it up really quickly. But that class and that presentation were kind of my second breaking point, but in a not so sad way. I sort of had the realization that, you know, no matter what I weighed, no matter what I did for people, it didn't matter, that I was just worthy just because I was and I existed. And that's so true of everyone. And I hear a lot of people on YouTube who are just getting started in this process, really struggling with hopelessness. And that's the one thing I can say, is that you are worth it just simply by being here. You are worth a better life. So that realization really led me to the point where I could have surgery. And today I am so incredibly happy and hopeful and excited about what the future brings. And I'm going to let in and start to deal with what I lost, because I don't think you can move past anything unless you look at it. And I'm going to embrace being in the 200s and be excited about that and be proud about that. And a lot of times I find myself, when people are saying, oh, I'm so proud of you, I'm like, well, what are you proud of? I mean, I had surgery. This is like way easier. I know it's not the easy way, but it's way easier than any other time I've lost weight. But I'm going to allow myself to be proud, really, because I made that change. And sorry, phone interruption during my emotional ending. Anyway, I'm going to allow myself to embrace that and look at what's coming next for me. Sorry, hold on. And now I'm totally distracted and I'm not going to do this whole thing over again. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the video that I posted at the end. I'm sorry this is so long. I'm just really happy about where my life's going, and really grateful to all of you on YouTube who are sharing your journey with the rest of us. Thanks, guys. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Ready?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Hey little girl, how much have you grown? Painful pearls. Hey little girl, flowers were once known. Are you on fire from here? What would you give for your kid fears? Carbs.